Hello, Team Easy Daters. We are pumped. We've got our friend Evan Marc Katz. Evan, say hi.
Hi, Mike. It's great to be here.
Yes, he's stealing my signature move.
It's going to be my signature move.
It's your move.
It's going to be. I'm going to co-opt it and make it popular. I'm going to make throwing your arms great again.
Yes, we're doing it. Evan, I am freaking ecstatic that you are here. You may not have known this, but I've been reading your blog for 4 years. I absolutely love your dating advice and think it is the best.
I can only say thank you. I don't do very well with compliments, but that means a lot. Thank you.
You are welcome. And I am so pumped you came up with our first question because my girlfriend Kelly and I literally have been debating this for 2 years, and we always end the debate with, we agree to disagree. So maybe you can give us some clarity on this.
I hope I take your side and not Kelly's, or maybe I hope I take Kelly's side. I don't know.
It doesn't matter. I just want some answers.
Okay.
And let's settle this. Do men really love bitches?
Absolutely not. So did I get it right?
I win. Maybe.
Well, I would think I don't know anything about Kelly. I do know that both you and I are men, and we're speaking for ourselves, right? So the concept that men love bitches is an overstatement. Even in the book, the Sherry Argov book, I don't think she means that literally. What she's trying to say is that men like women who have boundaries, who have self-respect, right? Now, you could, if you're really choosing between the woman who has no self-esteem, no boundaries, no self-respect, and the bitch might win because she has confidence. And people, not just men, are drawn to confidence. So if it's between the person with no personality and self-esteem and the person who has confidence, men will put up with the bitch, but no one's like, she's really bitchy. I gotta get a little more of that into my life. Someone who's kind of selfish and rude and patronizing and critical, I like that. Men put up with bitchiness because it comes with confidence or attractiveness or intelligence or something like that. The same way women put up with jerks or assholes because it comes in a package that they find appealing. But no one's like, man, I want a man who mistreats me, who's completely tone deaf to my needs and insensitive and verbally abusive. No, but you sometimes put up with it. Whether it's what you're looking for is a completely different story. So I don't think men love bitches at all. I think men sometimes put up with bitches because they're horny or lonely or inexperienced or something like that.
Yes. All right, Evan, I'm going to give you the two extremes, and then you tell me what women should actually be doing. So we've got, all right, here's the scenario. You're on a first date, and the guy is trying to take the girl home, and he says, hey, would you like to go to my house? Or some version of that. And then the girl this is the bitchy extreme. She goes, absolutely not. What is wrong with you? Get out of here. Goodbye. And then the other side is like, well, I really like this guy. I don't want to go to his house, but I also don't want to make him feel rejected. So I'm just going to go. So now neither one of those works because you've got one person being mean and then you've got another person being too receptive. So what should women be doing?
Well, it opens up a big and important can of worms. If you think of all relationships and relationships between me and you and your dad, and relationships are a Venn diagram. There's what one person wants and there's what the other person wants. And we have to find a point in the graph where those two things overlap. If we can't find some mutual overlap between our needs, there's nothing to talk about. So good dating skills, and dating is a skill, is dependent upon understanding where other people are coming from, not just you. The woman who reacts to a man who makes a first move on a date with horror and anger I understand why she's doing it. I call it an overcorrection, right? She wants to be very clear that she has boundaries, that she's not that kind of girl. She won't be used. She doesn't do that on a first date, right? So she's setting her boundaries, but she's doing it in such a way that is, at the very least, a turn off and probably pretty hurtful, right? It's very embarrassing for a guy to make a move and get shot down that blatantly. She doesn't consider that. She's just setting her boundaries to protect herself. Maybe she actually likes him, doesn't realize how she's scaring him off, right? So she's considering her needs, but she hasn't considered his. Similarly, right, the other side is a woman who's overcorrected. She's so concerned about a guy liking her that she's willing to do something she doesn't want to do, right? Well, someone else is going to do it, and I guess this is just the way dating is now, and now it's third date. I gotta put out, and she tells herself that story, and suddenly she finds herself in a position of, being the girl who looks up the guy who she slept with him the night before, and he's still online, and she's driving herself crazy because she didn't set her boundaries. So both people need to kind of come towards the center. I'm a dating moderate. And you got to come towards the center. And if a guy makes a first move on a date and you like him, best thing you could do is kiss him back, right? Instead of no, right? But if he says, do you want to come upstairs or you want to come up inside? And your answer is no, you can say yes. But if your answer is no, then, oh my God, I'm so attracted to you. I had so much fun. I don't even think I could trust myself with you tonight, right? To be continued, kiss on the cheek, talk to you soon, right? That lets him know there's a reason to come back for more. It's not a rejection, right? He didn't get laid. He didn't rape you. You let him know there's a reason for him to continue. And that's the little seed that guys need to keep on going. It's hard to come back from the Heisman, the rejection. And that's something that a lot of women don't calculate when they're setting their boundaries with guys. They want to be so clear that they're not that kind of girl that they overcorrect, and you go on 4 dates and you can't get a goodnight kiss. And the guy's like, I don't know what's going on here. So we're not really talking about nice versus bitchy. The term I use in my Love You course is you want to be the cool girl with boundaries, right? Every guy likes the cool girl, and we could debate about the meaning of the cool girl because that's also something that's misinterpreted. But every guy likes the cool girl who makes him feel good, but doesn't bend over backwards or have no opinions. Someone who knows herself and what she wants, but it can't be completely tone deaf to what he wants either. There has to be a point on the diagram where both of them are getting their needs met.
I love that. Evan, give me an example of a cool girl with boundaries so that women can implement this in the real world. Well,
the term cool girl took a big hit with Gillian Flynn's book Gone Girl. The main character, who was a murderous psychopath, gave a speech about how she's been pretending to be the cool girl, and the cool girl is a fantasy, a male fantasy. She watches football and she farts and she does anal, and right. It was a sort of caricature of what it means to be a cool girl. That she's like, women who they're not telling the truth, they're dying inside. There's no such thing as a cool girl. And the truth is, men don't want that cool girl. Cool to me means you know who you are, right? You're confident in yourself, comfortable in your own skin, and as it pertains to him, you accept him as he is. That's what it means for guys to be cool. You don't get on his case because he hangs out with his college friends from time to time. You don't get on his case because he's into fantasy football. You don't get on his case because sometimes he, puts his foot in his mouth and says something that he didn't even know was stupid, but you think was stupid. It's letting those things bounce off rather than making a big deal about everything. Because if everything's a big deal, then the relationship is a lot of fighting and a lot of negotiation. So to me, that's what it means to be a cool girl. It's 95% of stuff is acceptable, and the 5% that you have to negotiate is done from a very confident, secure place. Hey, we're not finger pointers, we're problem solvers. So the cool girl with boundaries is the one who lets 95% of stuff go. And when there's 5%, when she's like, hey, no can do. You can't do this with me, buddy. You stayed out last night without coming home. That's not cool. You went 3 days without calling me. You're my boyfriend. I need more from you. That's boundaries, right? So it's being it's essentially like being like a cool but firm parent. You don't want your parent to be a strict disciplinarian. Nobody functions well under that. But you don't want your parent to be like, all right, here's the car keys, here's a bottle of vodka, good luck tonight. there's a blend, there's a push and pull in relationships. And one of the hardest things in relationships is to really accept someone as they are. And for me, that was the biggest sticking point in my 10 years of prolific dating. So when you say, give me an example of a cool girl, I married the ultimate. I mean, I hit the jackpot with my wife, and most of my coaching is sort of reverse engineering what she does, right? That's so different than anybody I ever dated before. Because whatever it is, it works like a charm. I could hand you my wife. You'd be like, sorry, Kelly. Evan's wife's pretty cool.
That's awesome. You were just talking about acceptance, and I found this so interesting. Like I always thought like, oh, I needed to be fully accepted as a man to just feel good and feel right in the relationship in all my weird idiosyncrasies. But in reality, you just said it's really 95% a woman should accept of him, and then the 5% should be negotiated.
Listen, these are made up numbers, right? This is soft science rather than hard science. The truth is, two people who are in love but come from different backgrounds and have different opinions, you're not going to be in lockstep on everything. You live together. My wife and I are together for 10 years, and we're going to have different ideas about time management, spending money, how to raise the kids, being social, family. I mean, there's things to negotiate, but hopefully not everything is a fight or a negotiation where you have to draw a line in the sand and be frustrated that you didn't get your way. It's like my wife, essentially, who wants it more? And if one person is always winning, then the other person is a doormat. There has to be compromise. So the default setting in relationships, healthy relationships, is yes, right? Yes, dear, is the best answer, right? Regardless of gender. Yes, dear. You could roll your eyes, you cannot mean it, but my wife said to me this morning, can we talk about, what we're doing this weekend? I'm like, literally the last thing on my mind is what we're doing this weekend because I'm in the middle of a product launch. Yes, dear. Okay, so we've got tickets to this thing, and then the Ginsburgs invited us to this place, and then we got the thing, and what time do you think we should have the sitter? And I'm like, oh my God, there's nothing I care about less than answering this question right now. But okay, I'm gonna stick with you, and I'm gonna answer this question, and then could I go to work now, honey? Thank you, right? So she knows that that's not my top priority, but I make small sacrifices. She makes small sacrifices. And in the grand scheme of things, the relationship is easy and smooth, not rocky. And the more ego, opinion, stubbornness you have in a relationship, the more friction. And so the best predictors of healthy relationships are partners who are easygoing. Problem is, easygoing people aren't always as attractive. Why men love bitches, right? We undervalue someone who's easy. Yes, dear. We're more excited by the person whose opinion, who's pursuing their goal and their passion and their ambition, and right. So there's this trade-off between passion and comfort, and it's hard to thread that needle when you're making a lifetime choice. And that's what my coaching is all about: helping women optimize, find a good measure of chemistry and a good measure of compatibility. But I believe compatibility is more important than chemistry, which doesn't mean you give up on chemistry. It just means you trade off a little bit to get a much healthier marriage.
I love that. Yeah, I think we're under the same concept of, I believe, ideally, I'm a numbers guy. So like chemistry, I'd like to see at like an 8 and compatibility at a 10 on a 0 to 10 scale.
Okay.
What was I going to ask you?
I don't know.
So in terms of like chemistry and compatibility, women are always like, oh, I want that type A masculine man. And then from kind of what you're saying, like if we look at our type B or our beta male, if you will, he's probably going to be a perfect partner in a lifetime together.
For a type A woman, yeah, but she's not as attracted and doesn't respect him as much.
So can women get past that?
It's not a matter of can women get past that. Ultimately, all dating and relationship advice is about what works. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's not my place to say what works. It's not my place to say what you're attracted to. It's this, as I said, the pseudoscientific method, right? I haven't seen much evidence that alpha female could be in a relationship with a guy who's more alpha than she is, taller, smarter, richer, funnier, right? Right. And that relationship is going to be smooth. Right? I haven't seen any evidence of a 10 chemistry and a 10 compatibility. So, of course, everybody wants everything and wants to trade off nothing, right? I want my man to be better than I am and have the most attraction and the most compatibility and to be best friends and soulmates. And, well, if he's a self-made millionaire, he's not at home at 5 to help out with the kids and cleaning the house. And if he is gorgeous, then he probably knows he's gorgeous, and it might be a little harder to get him to settle down, right? And if he is brilliant, then he might be in his head a little bit. He might be a little bit moody. He might be a little bit stubborn. He might be a little bit arrogant. It comes with being in the 98th percentile of intelligence. So you don't get good qualities without some bad qualities, but people don't assess that, right? They think they're willing to put up the bad qualities until like, oh, I got a great husband. He's a multimillionaire. He travels 30 weeks a year. You got him. Right? So we have to assess trade-offs over a long period of time, not just how does it feel in the first 6 months when we're together. Does this work for 30 years, 40 years? And that's when we have to look at things like character, kindness, communication, consistency, commitment that don't show up in a Tinder profile, don't show up on a first date. It's how someone treats you over a period of time. But most of us are really just looking at the external. Height, weight, age, income, education, religion, political beliefs. And so we think if those things line up, we're fine. And that only gets you in the door. It has nothing to do with whether you're going to be happy for the rest of your life. There's no evidence that 2 people who like golf are going to be happier in a relationship or 2 people who are vegetarians. It's just a thing that people have in common, and they mistake that for compatibility, when in fact, those are just common interests. Right? Compatibility is how do you get along?
I love that. So, Evan, what do you think is the number one quality that men are attracted to?
I know women think it's looks, but I think it's what lies beneath that. Looks will get you in the door, right? I mean, again, if you're unattractive and men are not responding to you, we could talk about all the dating coaching in the world. There's nothing that I could do, you could do. Right? Attraction is a very visceral, primal thing. You don't think about it. You don't think about who you're attracted to. It's something you feel. That said, there's not much to learn, and you can pick up any women's magazine to figure out how to improve your appearance. I don't touch that at all. Not my job to tell you how to look. Confidence to me, and it's not to me, there's been studies that show this as well. Confidence is the most attractive quality that women find in men and men find in women. Right? And confidence manifests in a whole bunch of different ways. Confidence is not arrogance and walking around like your shit don't stink. Confidence is carrying yourself in such a way that people like you, respect you, are attracted to you. We've all, I could certainly speak for myself. I've found plenty of women attractive who I wouldn't have necessarily picked out of a lineup, but in talking to them, they're warm and they're funny and they're trusting and they're bubbly. And you're like, wow, like something turns on in your head that makes you see them in a different light. And it works both ways with both genders. And people's confidence comes from different places. Stereotypically, guy's confidence sometimes comes from his money. Guy makes money, he becomes a different person. I don't think women are gold diggers. I think they're confidence diggers. I think they respond to the guy who finally carries himself like he's a big man because he has confidence. And the most beautiful woman in the world, if she's really insecure, that's not a confident stance. Men aren't going to find it attractive. They're not going to respect it. They're not going to want to marry it. She'll get plenty of attention because of how she looks, right? But it's going to be the wrong attention. And a guy with self-esteem is not going to want to spend too much time with someone who he constantly has to prop up. No, honey, I wasn't looking at anybody else. No, don't worry about that girl that I'm friends with on Facebook. Like constantly walking on eggshells out of someone else's insecurities. So confidence is a pretty hard thing to teach, but it's literally the whole first month of my Love You course is on confidence because it is the umbrella under which everything falls. You can't date online if you're not confident. You can't text. You can't have sex. You can't be in a committed partnership. Confidence is everything.
It sure is. Evan, is confidence a synonym at times with vulnerability, do you think?
That's a really interesting question. I've never been asked it before, so I don't have a ready-made answer for you. I think it can be, but it's not necessarily. So now we're getting into something that's a little more nuanced. So someone could be vulnerable, right? You sit next to someone on a plane and they spill their guts about, how they were physically abused as a child and how their father left and she had to raise herself, and right? She might have no self-esteem or confidence, but she's being vulnerable, right? It's authentic. She's putting herself out there. So just because one is vulnerable doesn't mean one is confident. At the same time, it takes confidence to be vulnerable, right? People who are very guarded, right, don't display their vulnerability. And vulnerability is an attractive trait, especially in women, but in men too. Letting down your guard, being aware of your flaws, joking about your failures and your dreams, talking about jobs that failed and relationships that got dashed. That lets us know the human part of you. No one gives a shit about, what you bench, right? Like that's, or the best movie you saw this summer. That's surfacey small talk. So when you're willing to go deep, and share a piece of you instead of acting like you have your life together. Oh, no, I'm perfect. I've got no complaints, right? Like your life is just a big Instagram account. We don't like perfect. We like human. So yes, it takes some confidence to let down your guard and be vulnerable, right? But vulnerability in and of itself isn't necessarily a sign of confidence, if that makes sense.
Yes, that was the best answer I've ever heard describing the two. That was wonderful.
I'm making it up as I go along, man. So
yes, that's perfect. That's what I was looking for. Hands up. So talk to me though. So we know that we need confidence 100% the whole way through, but vulnerability, it's kind of a little nebulous. Like, when does this happen? So let's say a woman's on a first date. What can she be vulnerable about, in your opinion?
I think it's what could she be vulnerable about. I think it's the degree to which it dictates the tone of the date, right? And then how much one has a handle on it. So listen, we've all been on dates. I'm assuming we've all been on dates where it turned into a therapy session, right? You're having a real conversation. And the next thing you know, it gets really dark and serious, right? And someone starts crying and you're like, whoa. Like, I tapped something really vulnerable, but now we've lost something, which is the fun part of the date, right?
Yeah.
So I think being able to talk about yourself at some sort of remove or distance where, I meet you and I admit, I talk about how my dad died when I was 26 years old and how it really devastated me. At a time I needed some support, and I always wanted to be like my dad, and he never got to see me grow up and succeed and have a family. And in that moment, you feel closer to me. It's not a manipulative thing, but in that moment, you feel closer to me. Oh, wow, there's a human being there. He's not just the dating coach. There's a guy with feelings. And right now, if I told that story and again spent a half hour on my therapy and anti-anxiety drugs and my dark times in my 20s, suddenly we've gone too far. I'm not just telling the story and revealing a piece of me. I'm using you as a de facto therapist on a date. So I think one could talk, when people say you can't talk about exes and you can talk about whatever the hell you want on a date. You can. It's how you talk about it. Could you talk about your ex without getting angry? Then talk about your ex, because that's a piece of your story. But you can't go on a rant about, how evil she is and crazy she is and how she drained your bank account and how she, threatened your family, and just, that's too much. So everything in moderation. If there's a theme to everything here, it's just everything in moderation. You can be authentic. You can be vulnerable. You can admit flaws. But if they're your defining characteristic, now you're just weak and insecure, which is not what you want to project on a date. So it's a balance.
Yes. That was awesome. I think the best part of that was, so Evan explained his father thing in literally, I think it was about 2 or 3 sentences. I didn't know that story, so I felt something. I think everyone watching this felt it, and we're like, oh, like that's pretty cool. And I'm glad that now Evan's accomplished his family, and we wish his dad could have saw it. But then he immediately shifted topics, and I loved it because it got out, it humanized Evan, and then we went to another topic.
And that's very much, the dynamic that you're trying to do on a date. You don't have to act like you're perfect. You could talk about your weaknesses and your fears and your struggles. But if you're so deep in it that you can't see your way out of it, it doesn't play as attractive, even if it's real. We sometimes mistake being authentic and vulnerable and real for a good thing. But anybody who's ever been on a bad date, right? That person who was your bad date was being real with you. They were just being themselves. So be yourself is limiting advice, because every bad date you've ever had, again, if women are listening to this, every bad date you ever had, that guy was being himself. And so being yourself isn't always the best strategy. Sometimes you have to consider how you're coming across to other people.
So you do want to be authentic, but you just want to kind of...
It's a job interview, man. It's a job interview.
Yes.
Right. I got fired from my last job because I, repeatedly showed up to work late because I was hungover from the night before. Maybe that's what happened, but I wouldn't leave my next job interview with that.
Yes. I love that. All right, next question. Evan, how are smart, strong, successful women just like nice guys?
Well, let's try to do this in a more interesting way. Do you know any nice guys, Mike?
Sure do.
Is one of them interviewing me right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's nothing wrong with being a nice guy, obviously, but there's a myth among nice guys, and it's the same thing as the why men love bitches thing, right?
Okay.
All right. What's the nice guy myth?
The nice guy myth is that he's not confident, he's not an alpha male, and he's just nice and he takes care of the woman.
Well, actually, I wasn't leading there. It's interesting that you said that, which is fine, right? I'm not disavowing what you said. The myth that nice guys hold about how the world works is that women don't like nice guys, right?
Yeah.
Women like jerks. They like alpha males. They like guys who treat them poorly and sleep with them and don't call them, and don't follow up with them. That's the nice guy myth. Maybe you've participated in it. Maybe you know guys who are still struggling with it. But it's a myth. Mm-hmm. Women do like nice guys. Right? The same way guys like women who have boundaries. Women put up with jerks because they have confidence. Right? So does she want a guy who's kind and consistent and treats her well? Absolutely. But if she has no attraction to him and no respect for him because he's so nice that he has no personality, she's going to go out with the jerk. Right? Same thing. We're just flipping the genders. So as a coach for smart, strong, successful women, I hear a lot of the flip side of the nice guy myth. Men are intimidated by me. They don't like smart, strong, successful women. They want, wives from the 50s and doormats, and it has a kernel of truth. But on the whole, that's not true. For me, I'm a sapiosexual. Intelligence is the most attractive quality for me. Right? I think there's a lot of people who speak, the same language. If a partner brought as much money to the table as I did, I'd be thrilled. So it's not. If you're smart and you're successful, strong, having opinions and boundaries and a moral compass, there's nothing not to like about that. So why don't nice guys do well with women?
Tell us.
I'm asking.
Well, I think nice guys don't do well because they're missing some of the other qualities, which is maybe the guys that don't do well are missing confidence and they're missing that charisma, and maybe they're not asking good questions to really get to know the woman and get her to open up and talk about herself.
Yeah. Nice guys, for the most part, are not carrying themselves with traditional masculine energy. They're waiting for her approval. Please like me. Please return my call. Please give me a second date. Please kiss me. They have no confidence that the answer is going to be yes. So they give away their masculine energy. They give away their power. Flip that over. I think a lot of smart, strong, successful women, again, these are my core clients, right? And so the nice guy is not doing well because he's not carrying himself with enough masculine energy. I don't think a lot of smart, strong, successful women are carrying themselves with enough feminine energy, right? And it's not that men are intimidated. It's that you're not giving them what they want. The same way you want a guy who makes a plan on Friday night and says, I got this, and picks up the check and calls. And right, we like the guy with the plan instead of text, so what do you want to do? That guy drives you nuts, right? Similarly, it's hard because the gender roles are blurry. Masculine and feminine energy is a very nebulous concept, and it's easily misinterpreted. But if you like guys who are the man with the plan, the guy who's more man than you, very similarly, men like women who aren't as man as they are. Not because they're intimidated by you, but it's nice if he says, hey, I'll pick you up at 9, let's go for sushi. And you're like, no, I had that last night. Could you choose something else? Which again, is perfectly, you're entitled to do it. But if he can't make any decisions because you're always going to overrule him, and it's like, the only answer he has is, what do you want to do? Which is the question that drives you nuts. So I think nice guys and smart, strong, successful women are essentially mirror images of each other. Smart, strong, successful women often lack feminine energy. Nice guys often lack masculine energy.
I love that. You made it very simple with 2 buckets. I love it.
Well, again, it's all a spectrum, right? It's never as simple as that, but it helps have these paradigms to understand why certain people, good people, struggle in love. And it's because, again, they're not giving the other party what they generally want. But there are men who like strong, successful women with masculine energy too. You may have seen this. This is more for you than for everybody. There was a play. It started out in LA and it traveled around. They made a movie out of it. It was called Zootopia. Do you remember Zootopia?
No. What's that?
It was a play written by 2 guys in LA on J-Date.
Oh.
And the premise of the play was Jewish guy can't stand J-Date. The Christian guy, his best friend, loves J-Date. And the Jewish guy's like, why? I don't understand. I hate it. And the guy says, because when I go on J-Date and I get married, I know I'll never have to make another decision for the rest of my life. And there are people who are fine with that. That's the point. It's not a good or a bad or a man or a woman. It's, are you the difficult, opinionated one, or are you the easygoing, relaxed, laid back one? And I don't care if you're a man or a woman, you need a complement to that. You can't have 2 people sitting in the driver's seat. Someone has to navigate. And so dating and compatibility is about just trying people on for size and seeing how they fit, instead of saying, that's what I'm attracted to, and going for that again and again with failed results.
That was excellent.
Thank you.
All right. I need your help on this. I get this call, and I'm sure you do, call, email every single week without fail, of a woman saying, all right, I'm dating this guy, and as a person, he's amazing. He's got a great job. He's, handsome. I love our conversations, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he won't commit to me. I want commitment and not delivering at all. So what are 3 primary ways to get a guy to commit?
Well, it's an interesting question. I think it's a question that leads to more questions. How long has this couple in question been dating? And what is the definition of commitment?
Let's say let's go with 60 days. They've been dating for 2 months.
Been dating for 2 months and he's not her boyfriend yet.
Correct.
Okay. How often are they talking, seeing each? I mean, what's the circumstances on the ground? Is he acting like a boyfriend, or is he the text her once a week, see her once a week guy?
Let's say he's in between. They go on maybe 1 date, sometimes 2 a week, and they text, let's say 3-4 times a week.
Okay. 2 months in, she should probably tell him, let's reframe the question then. It's not how do I get him to commit? Because the goal isn't to make a man commit. You want a man to voluntarily choose you, not to put a gun to his head and say, you commit to me. All right. So it's, how do I not waste my time with the wrong man? And if you've been dating a guy for 2 months and he hasn't claimed you as his girlfriend, all I have to say is, hey, Rick, it's really been fun getting to know you. These have been a really enjoyable 2 months, but I'm not looking for a once a week guy. I'm looking for a boyfriend and later a husband. And since it doesn't seem like it's going to be you, I'm going to have to let you go and focus my energies on a guy who is ready for the same relationship I'm looking for. No hard feelings. No need to keep in touch. Take care. That's the answer. And that's the only answer. 1% of the time, Rick is going to say, oh my God, what are you doing? I can't believe it. No, I really did like you. I was waiting. I thought you were going to tell me when you wanted to be in an exclusive relationship, but I was too afraid. 99% of the time, he'll be like, oh, well, that sucks. Okay. Well, let me know if you ever want to hook up. Because if he really wanted to be your boyfriend, he would have claimed you're ready. It wouldn't have taken him 2 months to do that. So most guys usually step up in 4 to 6 weeks. Right? Anything past that, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, right? Like you don't need to give him a lot more runway. You cut him off and say, hey, no hard feelings. I don't want a once a week guy. I'm looking for a boyfriend. And he's either going to say yes or no, but you'll have your answer. You don't have to sit around. When I have women are like, I've been seeing this guy for 9 months, but he's not my boyfriend. I was like, oh, you just let it go 7 months too long.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that leads me to the next question. So first of all, I use that exact method with everyone who asks me.
It's great.
Say that exact thing, because that, for me, is the only answer.
Yeah, those are boundaries. You're not being unreasonable at that point. You gave him enough time to choose. He didn't choose. All right, shit or get off the pot, man.
Absolutely. But let's get into the psychology of this, though, because this is the part that would really be exciting to me. And for a lot of women, I think. So women look at this and they're like terrified to do it. And you've heard this a million times, I'm sure, where they agree with you and they're like, yes, that's what I need to do. But something prevents them from doing it because they don't want to lose that guy and whatever. Give us, and I don't know if this is possible because obviously it's the woman's decision if she's going to do it or not, but how can we get a woman motivated so that she can deliver and say that to a man way more often than they do currently?
The question is, are you the person who likes truth or a person who's comfortable with lies? I'm not constitutionally capable of lying. So, I'm almost autistic about not lying. So for me, not telling the truth is painful. Other people, it's very comforting to not address the elephant in the room. And this is the elephant in the room. You're looking for a relationship and you're sleeping with this guy who's not your boyfriend and you don't know where you stand. And the second you ask the question, it's over. So it's mostly people being afraid of the truth, right? So what's the motivating factor to get the truth when you're going to lose the guy, most likely? Well, the idea that you're not going to waste another 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year on him, and you're free to find a guy who will be your boyfriend. To me, investing time in the wrong man is the worst thing you could do. Right? Staying with a guy who's never going to pan out. Right? What's the point? It's like putting money into a bank account that you never get to withdraw from. You're just throwing money away. Right? Dating a guy who has no chance of becoming your boyfriend, knowing he's not going to become your boyfriend, right, is a waste of time. So you give him a chance to choose you. And at a certain point, you say, all right, well, if he was going to choose me, he would have done so by now. And then you have the guts to pull off the Band-Aid. And remember, he still has a chance to step up and be your boyfriend, right? So long story short, it's like being afraid to ask your doctor if you have cancer, right? Because you're afraid of the answer, where you'd be best off knowing, right? And you could avoid that conversation as long as you want, but as long as you avoid it, the conversation might, it's going to kill you. His opinion of you has already been formed in the first 2 months. You're not changing his mind by asking the question. He already knows how he feels about you. So all you're doing is getting the answer. You're getting the results back from your doctor, right? So there's no reason to avoid it. Everything's already been decided. You're just willfully putting your head in the sand by not asking the question because you're afraid of losing someone who's not going to be your husband. So to me, I understand emotion, but logically, this is a completely one-sided thing where the gain of getting the truth is so much greater than, oh, I'm going to lose a guy who's not panning out. You're not losing anything. You're cutting out a cancer.
Yes. I love that answer. That was fantastic.
I appreciate your enthusiasm. I do not know if I can match it.
That's fine. We're just getting good content out of you, and I'll be excited over here.
Okay.
All right. Evan, let's say the woman is incapable of having that conversation, but she does want love. Would you allow her, or would you work with her either in private coaching or your Love You program with her not being able to set that boundary?
I've had clients who came to me and I told them to have this conversation on the first phone call, and they stayed with me for a year and a half. They wasted their money, not because I stole their money, but because there's nothing to say other than break up with him, break up with him, break up with him, break up with him. All right. And it's why in general, as a private coach, I don't take on clients who have boyfriends. If you're calling a dating coach when you have a boyfriend, you have a problematic boyfriend. Happy couples don't call me. So I'm always an advocate of, if it's so hard to make things work, maybe they're not working. It's forcing your foot into a shoe that doesn't fit, or trying to jam two puzzle pieces together that don't go. You can try all you want, but it should be kind of easy. Good relationships are kind of easy. So, breaking up is not a process. And unless you're married and there's houses and kids and lawyers, but to break up with someone you've been dating, it's a 20-second conversation. Now you could talk about it for 2 hours if the person's crying, right? But hey, I love you. This just isn't working. I'm really sorry. I'm glad to answer any questions you have about it, but I got to move on. Just rip off the Band-Aid and it's done. Again, much easier said than done. I'm not minimizing the pain of breaking up with someone. I'm saying learning how to break up is a necessary evil. Otherwise, you stay in broken relationships and waste years of your life. I just talked to a client of mine yesterday who I've worked with multiple times over the years, and she's in a 3-year relationship now. And yesterday she called me and she told me about their on-again, off-again deal, and how he's bought a ring, but he keeps on pushing off the wedding date, and he's a bad communicator, and he's kind of critical of her. And I said, what are you fighting so hard for a wedding ring? If I snap my fingers and you're married tomorrow, now you're in a relationship with a guy who's a bad communicator, who's critical, and you don't feel safe with him. So do you even know what you're trying to do here? Right? Because I predict if I wave my magic wand and you get what you want, you're not going to be happy. Not going to be happy for 40 years with this guy. Right? And it's very hard for anybody to admit that they made a mistake and that they doubled down because of attraction, love, fear, sunk costs, inertia. None of those are good reasons to stay in relationships. You stay in a relationship because it's filling you up and buoying you and bringing you joy. To be in a relationship just because I love him and he claims to love me means nothing. Love doesn't redeem a relationship. It really doesn't. You need to have love in a relationship, but I love him is not a reason to be together. He loves me is not a reason to be together. Does he make me feel safe, heard, understood? Do I feel happy? Does he contribute to my life? Or is this stressful, draining, tiring, fearful, anxious? All right. So really, I could talk all this cerebral stuff, but it's really something simple. How do I feel? And again, no one who's ever been in a happy relationship has ever called a dating coach, because there's no need to.
Yes. All right. I think we saw it. Evan's a genius. What a great interview. I loved it. Evan, I'm going to put your free gift down yonder for everyone, so everyone get their hands on it. Evan Marc Katz, free gift. Evan, what the heck is the free gift?
I think that there's a lot of trial, error, and failure in dating. I've done a lot of it, right? I mean, I'm talking from the position of being happily married dating coach, but I went on 300 dates over 10 years and made every sort of mistake in the book. I've now been coaching for 15 years. And so what I tried to do is consolidate some of the most important and powerful things. And this special report is called 7 Things You Must Know About Men Before You Go on Another Date. And when you consider, well, do I really need to understand men? Think about a world in which men understood you. Right? I mean, I know it's a fantasy. You started laughing, but most men don't care to understand women. They're like, how do I get a first date? How do I get her in bed? Right? It's always a means to an end. But really, a guy saying, I want to understand my girlfriend. You don't hear that very often. but the world would be a much better place if men took the time to understand you. And since I can't force them to do that, what I can help you do is empower yourself by understanding what guys are really thinking. So these are things that, I can't speak for every man, but a lot of guys are thinking that you might not think, that you might not know about, that when you do, you're going to see men in an entirely new light. So click on the button, opt in. It's a free gift. I think you're really going to enjoy it.
Boom! There we have it. Everyone get their hands on the free gift. Evan, you genius. What a great interview. Thank you so much. I learned a ton from you. You're fabulous. Guys, we will see you next time. Oh, go ahead, Evan. What do you got?
No, man, I literally don't know how to match your energy. It's really an extraordinary quality.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
There you go. Put the arms up. Give me up. All right, guys, we will see you next time. Bye.